Are you ready? Huh? You ready, brothers and sisters?
Few people knew it, but in 1991, the unstoppable voice of Queen was hiding a terrifying secret. Freddie Mercury was dying, yet he carried the truth alone for years, letting the music roar while his body crumbled. He even shot his final video in stark black and white, so no one would see how frail he looked. Near the end, he ditched every drug except painkillers, and only a day after he finally told the world the truth, he was gone. Freddie's story started far from rock arenas, in Stone Town, Zanzibar on September 5, 1946, when Farah Bulsara entered the world with 4 extra teeth and a destiny no one could imagine. His parents, Bomi and Ja, were Parsis with deep Indian roots and a strong Zoroastrian faith. That extra room in his mouth later helped produce a jaw-dropping vocal range that soared from bass to piercing soprano. Zanzibar was still under British rule, making baby Farah a British subject from birth, a tiny legal detail that would fling open doors later in life. When he was 6, his sister Kishmira arrived, and by 1969, he became an official citizen of the United Kingdom just as his fame was about to ignite. Early life felt easy and bright. His father worked as a cashier for the British Colonial Office, so the family enjoyed comforts few neighbors could dream of. Young Freddie first attended a mission school run by Anglican nuns, tasting a strict British education beneath the island sun. But everything shattered in 1964 when a violent revolution erupted across Zanzibar. Mobs hunted Arabs and South Asians, and thousands died. The Bulsaras grabbed only what they could carry and fled to England. 17-year-old Freddie swapped turquoise seas for the chilly gray streets of Feltham, and life would never feel the same again. Yet the spark had already been lit. At 8, Freddie entered St. Peter's School in Panchagni, India, a disciplined hilltop boarding academy outside Mumbai. Uniforms were sharp, rules were iron, and English was spoken with perfect precision. A perceptive headmaster asked Bomi and Jid to pay extra for piano lessons, and that single choice unleashed a prodigy. Freddie thrived. He painted, acted, sprinted on the sports field, and attacked the piano like thunder. Classmates teased him as Bucky because of his teeth, but he shrugged it off and kept shining. By 12, he won a prize for Best All-Rounder, proof that he could outshine almost anyone once a spotlight appeared. While still at St. Peter's, he formed his first band, the Hectics, before friends Bruce, Derek, Farong, and Victory. They bashed out hits by Elvis, Cliff Richard, and Little Richard, and Freddie's fingers flew across the keyboard while crowds of schoolmates screamed. That early adrenaline rush showed him how good it felt to own a stage. He also soaked up Bollywood legends like Lata Mangeshkar and Kishore Kumar, filing away their sweeping emotions for future Queen epics. By the time he finished St. Peter's, he had already passed grade 4 piano exams and tasted the power of performance. Then the Zanzibar revolt struck, and the family ran for London. England offered no glamour, only endless rows of gray houses and colder skies. Yet in that bleakness, something inside Freddie hardened into ambition. He enrolled at Isleworth Polytechnic and soon moved to Ealing Art College, a haven for rebels and dreamers. Ealing felt like home. Freddie studied graphic design, yet spent even more time spinning music fantasies with new friend Tim Staffel. They created an underground magazine that poked fun at the design world, proving he loved mischief as much as melody. Outside class, he crashed headlong into Jimi Hendrix mania, sketching the great guitarist, copying every move, craving that same lightning on stage. Obsession drove him into a local band named Ibex. They hauled gear through dingy pubs and cram flats, but every sweaty night let Freddie test ideas, fail in public, and roar back stronger. He devoured Aretha Franklin's soul, Lennon's naked lyrics, Beatle harmonies, and Elvis swagger, then spun them all together in his mind like a blender set to storm mode. Money was tight, so he sold clothes at Kensington Market beside drummer Roger Taylor. The job was more than rent money. Picking fabrics and daring outfits taught Freddie how to turn heads the moment he walked into a room. Slowly, Farah Bulsara faded, and a larger-than-life Freddie Mercury emerged. What happened next was even wilder, but those early twists shaped a legend who would one day belt anthems to packed stadiums. His secret final battle would break hearts worldwide, yet the fire he lit on stage still burns bright today. Freddie Bulsara was only 22 when his whole world flipped upside down. He had just wrapped up art school in London and felt stuck between dreams and real life, unsure which road to choose. Then, in August 1969, fate hurled him into the path of a small Liverpool outfit named Ibex, a band no one had heard of and no chart had listed. They barely own a handful of songs, yet Freddie saw gold in their rough edges, and they sensed the same spark in him. Within 10 wild days, he devoured their set list, tossed in new tunes of his own, and rolled off to Bolton for a show at the Octagon Theater. The crowd did not know it, but they were witnessing the birth of a new kind of frontman. Freddie did not just sing, he prowled, he dazzled. He commanded every eye in the room. Ibex stood open-mouthed. One member admitted, "We used to just play and not worry about putting on a show." Freddie shattered that old rule with a single swirl of his hips. He owned only one pair of trousers and one shirt, yet he strode across the boards like he already ruled rock. By October, he talked the group into a makeover. Ibex became Wreckage, and the sound took on muscle, riding alongside guitarist Mike Burson. Freddie hammered out songs like Vagabond Outcast and FWA. One number, Green, landed on tape in Freddie's London flat and survived the decades to surface later for fans. Wreckage soon fell apart, but the breakup did not dent Freddie's drive. He slid into a new project called Sour Milk Sea, and when that fizzled too, he shrugged it off and dreamed even bigger. He told old bandmates, "We're not going to make it playing all this three-chord blues crap. We have to write our own songs." That vow was his compass. The real twist struck on March 29, 1970, when Tim Staffel quit his band Smile. Smile already boasted ace guitarist Brian May and Thunderarm drummer Roger Taylor. Tim and Freddie had bonded at art college back in 1965, so the vacancy felt tailor-made. Freddie stepped in without hesitation, and destiny snapped tight. Smile had skill, yet Freddie injected raw magnetism. Even before joining, he lurked at their gigs, critiquing every detail, pushing them toward grander heights. Roger later joked that Freddie was only his crazy mate, always up for fun, never a singer in his eyes. But that opinion vanished fast once Freddie grabbed the mic. He hungered for spectacle. He urged the group to stretch every chord into drama, to dress like peacocks, to move like thunder. Then he proposed a new banner, Queen. The title sounded royal, universal, a little daring, and Freddie loved every syllable. Brian and Roger hesitated, worried it felt too bold. Yet Freddie would not budge, and at last they embraced the crown. Freddie also forged a new identity for himself, dropping Bulsara and adopting Mercury, a name that flashed like lightning. This was not just a fresh band, it was a full rebirth. A missing link remained, the bass player. Several hopefuls drifted in and out without sticking. At last, in 1971, 19-year-old student John Deacon arrived, carrying a quiet smile, a sleek bass, and a custom amp that later sculpted Queen's trademark punch. John played with smooth confidence, kept his ego in check, and instantly balanced the bold personalities around him. Queen was finally complete. Freddie's art school skills soon shaped the band's visual pride. He drew a crest that dripped with secret meaning, using each member's zodiac sign. Lion for Roger and John, a crab for Brian, and twin fairies for himself. He crowned a giant Q, flared a phoenix above, and sealed the promise that this group aimed to rule any stage they touched. Recording their first album proved brutal. At Trident Studios, where giants like the Beatles once roamed, Queen could only book graveyard shifts after the paying stars finished. They waited through long nights, then churned out tracks until dawn, month after draining month. Even when the record wrapped, fresh trouble struck. Release dates slipped again and again, leaving the band in limbo. At last, in July 1973, Queen hit the shelves. Reviews split down the middle, some cheering the power, others baffled, but the band pressed on, sure they were building something that would endure. 1974 found Queen still searching for a perfect voice. Early albums overflowed with talent, yet felt scattered, too long, too tangled. Everything changed with sheer heart attack. Freddie sharpened every chorus into a 3-minute explosion, fused drama with glitter, and stamped the songs with unstoppable hooks. Killer Queen followed, rocketing up UK charts, leaping across the Atlantic, and turning the group from hopefuls into headliners overnight. Yet behind the curtain, the glamour crumbled. Record bosses had tried and pocketed most of the cash, while the musicians lived like part-timers. Freddie's flat was damp and tiny, and John Deacon could not even secure a modest loan. After months of bitter legal fights, they wrestled free. But the escape cost a fortune. They surrendered future royalties and paid huge sums just to breathe. To make matters riskier, their next move was the priciest gamble Britain had seen. A night at the opera devoured 7 studios and mountains of money. It had to succeed, or the dream would crash. Pressure roared like a furnace, yet it drove them higher. Every harmony stacked taller. Every guitar line burned brighter. And Freddie poured his heart into a 6-minute epic no label wanted, Bohemian Rhapsody. Queen bet everything on that song, and the world flipped with them. Freddie came in swinging with a 6-minute wild ride called Bohemian Rhapsody. At first, no one understood it. There was no chorus, and it was packed with opera, drama, and madness. Radio stations didn't know what to do with it. But Freddie wasn't asking for permission. He was making history. He filmed a quick, low-budget video in just one day and threw it out into the world. What happened next? It exploded. The song stayed at #1 for 9 straight weeks. Bohemian Rhapsody didn't just change pop music. It changed Freddie himself. On stage, he transformed into something electric. He didn't just perform. He owned the moment. His voice hit notes that shattered ceilings and then dropped down into pure heartbreak. He could stand before 20,000 people and somehow make each one feel like he was singing just for them. That mic stand he once broke by accident, he turned it into a signature weapon, part prop, part magic wand. And when he finally performed Bohemian Rhapsody live the first time, it wasn't just a concert. It was a masterclass in showmanship. Then came a night in 1977 at Bingley Hall. After the show ended, the crowd began singing You'll Never Walk Alone. No one told them to. It just happened. Freddie watched in awe, then leaned over Brian May and said, "We need songs of this." Out of that spark came We Will Rock You and We Are the Champions, 2 of the biggest stadium anthems ever made. From that moment on, Freddie wasn't just performing. He was crafting songs that fans could roar right back at him, and they did. By 1980, Queen had jumped far away from their glam rock roots. Another One Bites the Dust was funky, gritty, and full of swagger. Critics didn't think they could pull it off, but they did. It became their biggest U.S. hit ever. Freddie never stood still. He kept changing, shifting, surprising everyone. That's why his music kept reaching new fans. You could never pin him down. And with that wild success came a wild life. Freddie didn't believe in saving. He believed in spending. If he wanted something, he bought it. If his sister mentioned needing a kitchen, she got one. If a jewelry store was closed, he'd have it open for him. One birthday party was straight-up chaos. 700 guests, a cake shaped like a cathedral, and shattered glass everywhere by the end. Freddie didn't just live large. He lived loud. But not every choice was golden. In 1984, Queen chose to perform in Sun City, South Africa, right in the middle of apartheid. It was legal, but most artists refused to go. Queen went anyway. They claimed it wasn't political, but critics didn't buy it. The backlash hit hard. They got fined, blacklisted, and slammed in protest songs. Even years later, the band admitted it might have been the wrong move. Whether they meant harm or not, the damage was done. Freddie always chased the next big thing. In 1980, that chase led to Flash Gordon. Queen did the soundtrack, which was more sound effects than rock. Brian May did most of the work, playing around with synthesizers. Fans weren't sure what to think. Some loved it. Others didn't know what it even was. But that strange experiment was just the beginning. 2 years later, Queen went deeper into the unknown with Hot Space. Disco beats, funky grooves, and synths took over. Freddie and John Deacon were into it. Brian and Roger, not so much. The tension boiled over in Munich. Fights, late nights, and too much drinking tore them apart. Brian later said the band was emotionally wrecked. Roger pointed fingers at Freddie's manager, Paul Prenter, saying he pushed the band into making music only meant for gay clubs. Fans felt it too. Many thought Queen had betrayed their roots. Hot Space didn't just flop, it divided the group. Still, something interesting happened. While longtime fans turned away, other artists were listening. Michael Jackson took notes. Musicians started paying attention. The album's influence quietly spread, even if no one admitted it at the time. In the middle of all this chaos came a miracle. Queen met David Bowie in a Swiss studio. What started as a casual jam session became under pressure. That bass line, pure Deacon. The fire in that track, all Freddie and Bowie. Two powerhouses clashing in the best way. They fought nonstop, but that tension created something unforgettable. The song went straight to #1. Even while the band was falling apart behind the scenes, they proved they could still shock the world. By 1983, they were exhausted. The non-stop touring, recording, and fighting had burned them out. For the first time, Queen took a real break, but rest didn't fix the cracks. The band was split. Freddie and Deacon wanted dance. Brian and Roger wanted rock. Paul Prenner kept driving a wedge deeper. Still, that pause gave them space to think, to reflect, and to remember what made them powerful. Then came the works in 1984. Queen's reset button. Freddie brought the flair. Deacon brought the rhythm. And finally, Brian and Roger got their guitars back. The sound? Balance. Rock and pop and harmony. Radio GAGA took off. I Want to Break Free became an anthem. Queen was back, and this time they ruled the charts for nearly 2 years straight. But in the US, things got messy. The I Want to Break Free video showed the band in drag. The UK laughed. MTV banned it. Some American fans turned their backs. And when Freddie wore that costume in Rio, the crowd hurled objects at him. It was harsh. Queen never fully recovered their US momentum. Freddie didn't slow down. He had something personal to prove. In 1985, he released Mr. Bad Guy, his solo album. It was 100% Freddie. He dedicated it to his cats and filled it with everything he loved: disco, ballads, and bold emotion. It didn't sell big in the US, but Freddie didn't care. This wasn't about money. It was about freedom. He had spent years inside the Queen machine. Now, he was finally doing it his way. Then came something no one expected. Freddie teamed up with opera legend Montserrat Cabal, his idol. He met her in a hotel in Barcelona and played her a demo, even singing her parts in falsetto. She was stunned. Together, they recorded Barcelona. It was epic opera and rock, fused into something new and breathtaking. The song became the anthem for the 1992 Olympics, and their full album was bold, weird, and beautiful, just like Freddie. By 1988, Freddie knew time was running out. He had been diagnosed with HIV, but he kept it quiet. No press, no pity. He just walked into the studio and started recording again. The pain was real, so was the fear, but none of that stopped him. He gave everything he had, until the very end. The result was a miracle, an album that sounded nothing like a goodbye. It was powerful, proud, and filled with life. It soared to #1 across Europe. What fans didn't realize was that it truly was a miracle in more ways than one. Then came Innuendo. By that point, Freddie's body was fading fast, but his voice, still thunderous. Brian May later revealed that Freddie pushed him to keep writing, no matter how sick he was. He told them, "You can finish it after I'm gone." But until then, he gave it everything he had. The title track became a chart topper. It was strange, haunting, theatrical, just like Freddie at his most fearless. But while the music stayed strong, the truth behind the scenes was getting harder to hide. On February 18th, 1990, Freddie appeared at the Brit Awards to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award with Queen. He only spoke 5 quiet words: "Thank you, good night." That was it. No speech, no grand farewell. But his silence screamed louder than anything. He looked thin. He looked tired. The rumors were no longer rumors. Even then, he kept smiling. He waved the crowd. He didn't want anyone, not even his fans, to see the pain behind his eyes. His bandmates followed an unspoken rule: never ask. If Freddie didn't bring it up, they wouldn't either. In the studio, he kept showing up. Some days he could barely stand. Some days he could only sing for a few minutes. But he came in anyway. Studio engineers said it wasn't a place filled with sadness. It was filled with jokes, laughter, and light. Freddie refused to let the darkness take over. When it came time to record The Show Must Go On, someone asked if he was strong enough. Freddie didn't flinch. He said, "I'll do it, darling." Then he downed a glass of vodka and crushed a vocal in a single take. That performance became one of the most powerful moments of his life. He was breaking, but his voice was still a force of nature. By May 1991, Freddie filmed what would become his final music video, "These Are the Days of Our Lives." If you look closely, you might not realize it was a goodbye. The video was shot in black and white to hide just how sick he was. He wore a vest covered in drawings of his beloved cats. He smiled. He joked. He did take after take until he was satisfied. Then, right at the end of the video, he looked into the camera and whispered, "I still love you." That was his last message to the world. Quiet, simple, heartbreaking. He knew what was coming, and he made sure to say goodbye his way. By November, he made the hardest choice. No more treatments, just painkillers. He was ready. He wanted peace. His closest friends stayed with him day and night. He could no longer paint. His vision was fading, but he still laughed. He still remembered. He still lived. On November 22nd, Freddie asked Queen's manager to release a final statement. It confirmed what many had feared. He had AIDS. At 8 p.m., the news broke. And at that exact moment, lying in his bed, Freddie Mercury smiled. His assistant said it was the calmest he'd looked in years. The secret was finally out. He didn't have to hide anymore. Less than 24 hours later, on November 24th, 1991, at exactly 6:48 p.m., Freddie Mercury passed away. He was just 45 years old. The world had lost a voice, a performer, a legend. And for the first time, AIDS had taken a rock icon right in the public eye. Freddie's death forced people to face the disease. There was no more pretending it didn't exist. But even in death, Freddie Mercury left behind a secret. Everyone knew he was cremated at Kensal Green Cemetery in West London. What no one could confirm was what happened to his ashes. For over a year, they stayed unclaimed. It was Mary Austin, his best friend, former lover, and the woman he once called his soulmate, who finally took them, and she never revealed where she put them. In 2013, fans discovered a hidden plaque in the cemetery. It had his birth name, his dates, and a simple message in French, signed only M. But soon after, the plaque disappeared. Most believe it was removed on purpose, to keep his resting place a secret forever.